Because I want to talk about the comments from Steven Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary, shared President Trump's views about an online sales tax yesterday. Here's what he said during the House Ways and Means Committee hearing. Listen to this.
I will change my comment from he's supportive to he feels strongly. I have personally spoken to him about this. Without a comment on any specific bill, he does feel strongly that the taxes should be collected.
Online sales tax going to make things much more expensive, Hogan. You just got off of a tax cutting plan, and now you're talking about raising taxes.
Well, honestly, Maria, and I hate to punt here, but I haven't talked to the president about this. I just was made aware of the comments this morning. We've obviously been dealing with the Florida shooting and the plans to go down there and changing the president's schedule. I haven't seen that yet, but I promise you have me back on, and I'll be happy to talk about that.
Yeah, but I mean, the idea of an online, I recognize that you're trying to look for revenue anywhere you can get it, given the spending bill that we just talked about with Paul Ryan last week and given the president's budget. But a gasoline tax is now on the table, the president supporting an online sales tax now on the table. Is this basically reversing course what you guys just did in the tax plan?
No, but you just mentioned the fact that Democrats are attacking the president for being the master deal maker. Where's the art of the deal, they say. This is part of the deal-making strategy from the president. That is putting things on the table. Let's have a discussion. You guys say you want things fixed. How do we fix them? Remember, this president in a short amount of time has had record-setting accomplishments in record-setting time. And what he's done is he's addressed and attacked issues that haven't been touched for the better part of 30 years. You know about the tax cuts, obviously. Now he's talking about immigration that hadn't been touched since the 60s. We're talking about infrastructure, which hasn't been touched in decades. This president is a problem solver. He will put things on the table because he wants to start the negotiation, and let's get something accomplished for the American people.
Yeah, and that's why he's talking about infrastructure as well. But where does that $200 billion come from in terms of infrastructure?
Well, a lot of that money comes from cost savings in other areas throughout the government, and that's what's so great about it is
cost savings in the government.
Absolutely, it kind of sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? It does. But this president has worked to cut waste and fraud and abuse at many levels. This is no different, and that's what the plan does. We're working on a public-private partnership. I mean, you've got to understand, the federal government basically is in 100% of the permitting processes of infrastructure plans across this country, but we only pay for about 14%. We're not suggesting we pay for more. The problem is we need to roll back some of that permitting, so instead of taking 10 years to build a road and get all the permitting for it, it should take 2.
Yeah.
It needs to get Americans back working. That's what this president wants to do.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. The red tape has stopped progress. I understand that. But in terms of the $200 billion that he's talking about, people are still wondering where it comes from, given the fact that we're talking about trillion-dollar deficits now for as long out as you can see, $2 trillion deficits in 10 years. And obviously, the $1.5 trillion tax plan is also being talked about as one of the main reasons that the government will see lower revenue the next couple of years.
Look, this president is proposing basically a $3.6 trillion deficit reduction over the course of the next 10 years. It's the second largest deficit reduction effort in history. The first was the president's first plan that never got voted on. This president knows there's fraud, waste, and abuse. As you've said before, he is a businessman. He understands that there's too much red tape. There's too much nonsense going on in the federal government. He wants to get rid of those things. So that's what the plan does because, quite frankly, again, fixing a problem that's been in place for decades. He comes in, he wants to get his arms around it and fix it, and he's had some aggressive proposals to get the deficit down, to allow people to keep more of their own money, to rebuild our infrastructure. That's where he wants to be because the American people deserve nothing less.
Look, I understand that if you implement one thing, it's going to hurt, some people, and everybody gets impacted by something. So you get a gas tax in there, you're going to hurt truckers. You're going to hurt some people who, need to drive back and forth to work, and they're going to see their costs go up. An online sales tax, you're going to impact a lot of people there. Obviously, online spending and online sales have really been the driver of business in terms of retail. Do you think that has a chance of going through, an online sales tax?
Again, I think it's a starting part for a negotiation. I'm not familiar with the comments. As I mentioned before, we've been working on other things, quite frankly, preparing for a Florida trip. But I do understand the concern. But this president wants solutions, finally, for things that have been dogging this country for 30, 40 years. And that's where you've got to go. He's got to put everything on the table because this president is a master negotiator. He will work with the other side to get things done. He wants to work with Republicans and Democrats in a bipartisan, bicameral way to get it done. But you've got to put everything everything out on the table and show where we are as a country and have an honest discussion with the American people so we can come up with honest solutions.
Hogan, why did the president, since you're all talking about your Florida trip and what you're doing, why did the president and this administration rescind the Obama-era rule that precludes anybody with mental illness from obtaining a gun?
Well, first of all, let's talk about what that particular deal did. They were trying to take away rights from the American people because they were, quote unquote, mentally defective as deemed by the Social Security Administration. The ACLU was on board, actually, with the president's action on this. This wasn't a conservative issue. It was one where people's rights were being taken away, and citizens of this country were actually, I guess the Social Security Administration, I should say, was the judge, jury, and executioner on these matters, and they would arbitrarily take away rights from American citizens simply because by that particular piece of code that you couldn't handle your own finances, thus you were deemed mentally defective.
Right.
That's unfair for anybody, and as I mentioned, it wasn't the NRA that was behind it, it was the ACLU.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but in retrospect, knowing that guns are getting in the hands of mentally unfit people and they are going on shooting sprees, do you regret it, or was there something different that should have been done? I mean, how are you going to address this?
Well, you never regret protecting the rights of the people, but I can say, I mean, the president's heart is so heavy over this Florida shooting. The rest he shares the grief for the rest of the country. I mean, you see these videos, you see these testimonies from people, you see the heroic stories of people using themselves as human shields. It shows the spirit of the American people, but it also shows and illustrates that there's evil in this world, people who are committed to hurting others and killing other people, and that's sad, and it has to be addressed in some manner, in some form.
How do you address it? How do you address? That's what I'm asking, though. I mean,
right.
I understand it's heavy heart for sure, but what are you going to do about it in terms of mentally ill using guns? Right.
Well, I mean, I think the mentally ill part of this cannot be overlooked. I mean, this individual clearly was sick, and there are ways we can work with the community to figure out what efforts we can take to protect our citizens in a better way.
Without impacting civil liberties. I get it. Hogan,
Absolutely.
thank you. Thank you so much. Hogan Gidley joining me there.